So when I was teaching high school, I taught the same students as one of our friars, Brother Lawrence, and one of them we dubbed the most creative, because when he was sitting in Brother Lawrence's religion class, their assignment was to have finished reading a biography of St. Francis of Assisi. And the simple question that Brother Lawrence asked the students was, what was your favorite part of the life of St. Francis? And they got to this one kid, Aaron, and Aaron just wasn't coming up with anything because he didn't read the book. And finally, Brother Lawrence just persisted, and he said, just tell me one thing that you admire that St. Francis did. And he just looked up, and with great confidence, he goes, well, it was how he decided that he would drive all the snakes out of Italy. And he was certain that he was correct. Absolutely certain. Maybe we could work with this image for us today, because both Patrick and Francis saw afflictions in their times, in their lives, and they responded in the context of a Christian's relationship with God. For Francis, his snakes were of ill health and eye disease, great afflictions that he suffered physically. And in the midst of this pain and suffering, he wrote one of the most beautiful things that has been written, his poem, The Canticle of the Creatures. It's in the context of his pain and his afflictions that he wrote, Be you praised, my Lord, for Brother Sun, for Sister Moon, for Brother Fire and Wind and Sister Water. In our first reading today, we have that prayer of Azariah that in the book of Daniel, in the first part of our reading, it says, he prays in the midst of the fiery furnace. He with his two companions were thrown by Nebuchadnezzar into the affliction of the furnace, but they didn't burn. And one like the Son of Man came to stand with them. And in the midst of all of that, Azariah sang his great song, which we heard but a little bit of in today's first reading. And it continues. And in the continuing of that song, Azariah praises the Lord and blesses the Lord for sun and moon, for frost and chill, for night and day, for birds of the air and creatures of the sea, and for children of men. Blessed be the Lord. Certainly the inspiration for the Canticle of Creatures of St. Francis. We have an affliction amongst us today with the coronavirus, and snakes of affliction have come our way by worry, anxiety, panic, and for some, for many, sickness. How is it that we can trust that we're not alone in the midst of affliction and find a voice to pray like Azariah and like St. Francis? Bless the Lord. In the days and weeks ahead, maybe we can take a cue from the playbook of St. Francis and that poem of the Canticle of the Creatures, for in the last part he writes, Be you praised, my Lord, for Sister Death. That's not an easy prayer in the world in which we live, but a powerful prayer of Christian people who in suffering and affliction can drive away the snakes of worry, anxiety, and panic with the hope and the promise of Christ's resurrection. In this hope, maybe we can find a voice to welcome Sister Bodily Death, who will one day come for each and every one of us to bring us home to God. Till then, and then, let us bless the Lord, both now and in the times to come. Amen.